35 years ago, during a beautiful family vacation, Elaine suddenly vanished without a trace, leaving her family in eternal sorrow. She never returned, and her son Alex never shook off the need to uncover what happened. He decided to return to the exact place where his mother was last seen, and he started a journey that would unravel a mystery that had been kept secret for more than 3 decades. What Alex discovered there not only shed light on his mother's disappearance, but also unearthed secrets long buried. Alex had told no one else in his family about his trip to Sweden, which was where his mother had disappeared. He couldn't believe that it had been 35 years since that horrible day already, and not a day had passed that he did not think of her. Over the years, he'd thought of so many questions, and now he was determined to find the answers. There had been a huge police investigation, but the local police hadn't found a single clue about Elaine's whereabouts. It never made any sense to Alex, but just like the rest of his family, he'd been forced to simply accept the fact that she was gone. And now, he sat on an airplane to Scandinavia, unaware that what he was going to find there would end up changing his life forever. On one hand, Alex was excited, but on the other, he was terrified. He was scared of the truth. His whole life, he'd had the feeling that his father knew more about what had happened than he was letting on. But he'd never dared to confront him about it. Every time he even insinuated that his father knew something, he became furious. But what had happened to Elaine? Was she still alive? And what did Alex's father really know? Alex tried to watch a movie during the flight, but he couldn't focus. His thoughts simply kept going back to his mother and that one family vacation 35 years ago. He wondered what he'd be thinking about on his flight back home. Would he finally have closure? Would he find out what had happened to his mother? Before going on the trip, Alex had gathered all the information he could find about his mother and put it in a folder. That folder had become unmissable for this trip. It contained family photos, including all of the photos they had taken on that trip to Sweden. But he had also added newspaper snippets about his mother's disappearance back in the day. He felt like some kind of detective. Alex had also found many articles about Elaine online, and he had printed all of them out and added them to the folder. Everything he found that mentioned her name went straight into that folder, including things that did not seem important at first. They could turn out to be useful one day, he thought to himself. He knew that the chances of him finding any connection to his mother were slim, but he needed to try. He hoped that somehow he'd find a clue, a hint, anything that would provide him with answers. He was truly desperate to find out what had happened to her, especially because his father hadn't been very willing to talk about it. His family was of no help, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. At the airport in Sweden, the officer at passport control asked Alex why he was visiting the country. He didn't feel like explaining the whole situation, so he just answered, "A family trip." And luckily, the officer didn't ask any more questions. Then, he got on the bus to the little town where he had stayed 35 years ago, and not much later, he arrived at the apartment he had rented for the week. Alex met the apartment owner, and they made some small talk. It was a kind older lady, but Alex quickly excused himself to go to his room. He took a shower and immediately fell into a deep sleep. He was tired, and it was late, and he would start his search for answers tomorrow. He had no idea what was waiting for him. The next morning, Alex woke up early and went to explore the town. He felt like he recognized some parts of it, but he wasn't sure if these were his memories or just images he recognized from photos. He entered a small cafe to have breakfast and some coffee, and after that, it would be time to get serious. Alex spread out his mother's old photos and articles across the cafe table, his mind racing with strategies. First stop, their old family apartment. He plotted the quickest route on his map, tapping the address into his phone for good measure. The cafe buzzed around him, patrons none the wiser to the significance of his mission. He sipped his coffee, resolute. Astrid, the cafe owner, leaned in with a keen eye. "Planning a big day?" she asked, wiping the counter. Alex hesitated but nodded, trying to maintain a casual air. Astrid's intuition ticked. This visitor seemed far from an ordinary tourist. She poured him another coffee. Her curiosity piqued, watching him carefully arrange his documents. After some gentle prodding from Astrid, Alex shared his story. He revealed his search for clues about his long-lost mother. Astrid's expression softened with sympathy as he outlined his plans. It wasn't just a visit. It was a quest for closure that had brought him to her cafe. She listened intently, moved by his dedication. Astrid offered to help, perhaps call some locals who might remember something. But Alex declined. He needed to do this part alone, to walk the path his mother might have taken, undistracted. He appreciated the gesture, though, and thanked Astrid with a sincere smile. He felt it was something he had to face by himself. With a new coffee in hand, Alex left the cafe. The address of the old family apartment was just a short walk away. His heart raced with anticipation and a touch of fear. What would he find there? He was about to step back into a past that might change his future forever. He adjusted his backpack and started walking. Alex hurried through the streets to his old family apartment. The building looked well kept, with flowers in the windowsills and fresh paint on the doors. It was a relief to see the place not only still standing, but apparently loved and lived in. He checked the address again, took a deep breath, and approached the front door. He knocked eagerly, hoping whoever lived there now could share something about the past. Maybe they had moved in right after his mother disappeared? Maybe they knew something? As he waited, he tried to calm his racing heart, hoping for a friendly face or at least someone who remembered his family. An elderly man opened the door, peering out with a puzzled look. He spoke rapidly in Swedish, which Alex barely understood. "I'm sorry, I only speak a little Swedish," Alex tried to explain, feeling the barrier of language between them. The man squinted at him, obviously unsure of what to make of the visitor. Alex showed him a photo of his mother from their last trip, hoping it might spark a memory. The man's eyes flickered with recognition, or was it confusion? He muttered something indistinctly, then abruptly closed the door in Alex's face. Standing there, stunned, Alex processed the sudden rejection, his hope momentarily dashed. Disappointed but not deterred, Alex stood in the hallway, making notes in his phone about the encounter. He needed to think about what to do next. This setback wouldn't stop him. There were more places to visit, more people to ask. He was here for answers, and he was going to find them, no matter what. With determination, Alex visited places from his childhood memories around the town. He walked the streets where he played as a kid, peeked into the window of the school he once attended, and lingered outside the local grocery store where his family shopped. Each location a piece of the puzzle he hoped to solve. Alex looked for any sign that might point him to his mother. He walked through his old neighborhood, checking every familiar spot that could possibly jog someone's memory. The playgrounds, schools, and corner stores, each held a flood of memories and potential leads. Alex approached locals, showing them photos and asking if they remembered his family from 35 years ago. He hoped for a spark of recognition that could lead him somewhere. Despite his efforts, Alex came up empty-handed. He visited his former elementary school, talking to the staff, and wandered into shops where his family used to go. No one remembered his mother or the family. It was as if they had vanished without leaving a trace. Not just his mother, but their entire existence from this town. Each visit ended the same: polite smiles and apologetic shakes of the head. No one recognized the faces in the photos Alex showed. No one had stories or rumors that could help. It was a small town. Memories should have lingered, but they hadn't. This pattern of friendly faces offering no new insights became frustratingly familiar as the day went on. By the end of his fruitless day, Alex felt the weight of his unyielding search. He sat on a bench in the old town square, surrounded by the fading light of day, and considered his next move. It was clear he needed a new approach, maybe even help, if he was ever going to uncover the truth about his mother. Alex walked back into Astrid's cafe, the bell jingling above the door announcing his arrival. He had spent a fruitless day searching, and now, resolved to accept help, he approached Astrid. Sitting down at the counter, he ordered a coffee and prepared to explain his predicament, hoping she could offer the assistance he desperately needed. He laid out the details of his unsuccessful day to Astrid, who listened with a furrowed brow. "It's tougher than I thought," Alex admitted. Astrid nodded, her face showing deep sympathy. "Let me make a few calls," she offered, suggesting she might know someone who could provide more concrete leads. Alex felt a glimmer of hope as she reached for her phone. Astrid wrote down her number on a piece of paper for Alex. "Call me anytime and I'll keep you updated too," she said. They exchanged phone numbers, setting up a line of communication for any breakthroughs in the search. Alex felt a bit more organized with Astrid involved. A local who knew the community well might just make the difference. "I'll do my best, Alex," Astrid assured him, her tone earnest. "I have some friends from the old days, people who've been around a long time. Someone must know something," she added, filled with a resolve that comforted Alex. He sipped his coffee, watching her as she started making calls right there, her determination matching his own. Relieved to finally have someone else helping him, Alex left the cafe feeling more optimistic than he had in days. He walked out into the chilly air, his mind buzzing with the possibility that Astrid's connections could open new doors in his quest. It was a long shot, but with Astrid on his side, the odds felt slightly better. Alex woke up feeling motivated by the new possibilities of the day. With a list of locations linked to his childhood memories, he visited each one, old family photos in hand. He walked through the parks, the markets, and by the riverbank that appeared in the backgrounds of his mother's pictures, hoping to jog someone's memory. At each site, Alex approached anyone who might remember his family. He showed shopkeepers and passers-by old photos, mentioning his mother by name. "Did you ever meet Elaine?" he would ask, showing her picture. Some nodded thoughtfully, most shook their heads. None had a story to tell that could help Alex fill the gaps in his past. Despite sharing personal stories and details that he remembered about his mother and their life there, no one he met recognized her. It was disheartening. He felt like he was chasing ghosts through the very streets they once walked together. Each conversation ended with kind but empty smiles, and no new leads. Alex took meticulous notes on his phone after each interaction. He jotted down names, locations, and any minor details people mentioned, no matter how seemingly inconsequential. These notes were his breadcrumb trail. Maybe, just maybe, a small detail would later connect the dots in his search for his mother. The sun set as Alex returned to his Airbnb, his body and spirits worn from the day's efforts. He had hoped for at least one breakthrough, but none came. Still, he wasn't ready to give up. As he prepared for dinner, he thought about his next steps, knowing each day brought him closer to the truth, no matter how elusive it seemed. At dinner, Alex and his Airbnb host, Ebba, shared stories over homemade dishes. As they chatted about the local area and its history, Alex mentioned his quest to find out what happened to his mother. Ebba listened intently, her expression one of focused curiosity, as Alex unfolded the story of his search. After clearing the dishes, Alex pulled out a worn photo of his mother from his wallet. "This is her," he said, handing it to Ebba. He watched her face, looking for any sign of recognition as she studied the picture carefully. It was a long shot, but every new pair of eyes was a chance to uncover a clue. Ebba's face turned pale as she looked at the photo. She handed it back to Alex quickly, her voice trembling slightly. "I've seen her recently," she claimed, catching Alex completely off guard. His heart skipped a beat. Could it really be possible? He was skeptical, but her serious tone made him eager to hear more. Intrigued yet skeptical, Alex listened as Ebba described seeing a woman who closely resembled the photo. She spoke of a chance encounter in a nearby village just a few weeks earlier. Alex tried to keep an open mind, absorbing every detail, but part of him wondered if it was just a case of mistaken identity. Despite Ebba's earnestness, Alex found it hard to believe it could really be his mother. The likelihood seemed too remote. It was more probable that Ebba had seen someone resembling Elaine. Still, he couldn't completely dismiss her story. He needed to investigate this new lead, even if just to rule it out. Alex remained skeptical, but he couldn't ignore Ebba's persistent insistence that the woman she'd seen was undoubtedly his mother. Although doubtful, Alex agreed to meet her, trying to keep his emotions in check. It was a thin hope based on someone else's certainty, but he felt compelled to follow every lead, no matter how slight, in his relentless quest for truth. They planned to meet the woman Ebba believed to be Elaine. Alex tried not to let hope override the realism he needed to maintain. "It's probably not her," he told himself, preparing for disappointment. But the possibility, however remote, that he could finally find answers after all these years spurred him on, fueling a mixture of anxiety and suppressed excitement. Ebba arranged for them to meet at a quaint cafe outside the city, a quiet place perfect for personal conversations. Alex drove there with mixed feelings, his mind racing with all the potential outcomes. As they arrived, Ebba pointed out a woman sitting alone at a corner table, her back to them, seemingly unaware of the impending encounter. Alex approached the table, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. As he drew closer, he prepared to tap the woman on the shoulder, rehearsing his greeting. The moment felt surreal, like walking through a dream where each step could change everything he knew. He reached out, hoping she would turn and offer the answers he desperately sought. But as soon as the woman sensed someone behind her, she turned, her eyes wide with a flicker of recognition. Or was it fear? Before Alex could speak, she bolted from her seat and dashed out of the cafe. Alex stood there, stunned, as she disappeared into the crowd. His mind whirled with confusion and a rising sense of urgency to find her again, to clarify this bewildering moment. Still reeling from the woman's sudden flight, Alex pressed Ebba to try contacting her again. "We need to meet her, please. See if you can arrange it," he urged, his voice thick with desperation. Ebba nodded, understanding the importance of this lead to Alex, and promised to do what she could to set up another meeting. Ebba revealed that the woman's name was Anna, a name that could easily have been adopted by Elaine. She attempted to reach Anna again, but without success. Each call went unanswered, each message unreturned. Alex hovered nearby, a knot of anxiety growing tighter with each failed attempt, his mind racing with the implications of their brief encounter. In a moment of desperation, Alex called his father, hoping for insight or even an acknowledgement of new facts. However, his father denied knowing anything beyond what was already known, sharply criticizing Alex for chasing what he called phantoms. "You're on your own with this foolishness," he snapped, anger evident in his tone. His father's angry dismissal only fueled Alex's resolve. The insistence on ignorance and refusal to engage left Alex feeling more isolated than ever, but it also steeled his resolve to dig deeper. He ended the call feeling determined to continue his search, no matter how much his father disapproved. Feeling betrayed and alone, Alex vowed to himself to continue his search, regardless of his family's reluctance to revisit the past. He knew the journey might bring more questions than answers, but he was committed to uncovering the truth about his mother's disappearance. The lack of family support was disheartening, yet it strengthened his determination to find answers on his own. Back at Astrid's cafe, Alex settled into a routine, waiting each day for any word from Ebba about another meeting with Anna. He sipped coffee after coffee, his gaze often flicking to the entrance whenever the bell rang, each time hoping it would be Ebba walking through the door with news. Days turned into a week with no leads or contacts. Alex's initial frustration grew into a deeper sense of doubt about the progress of his search. He found himself questioning the decisions that brought him here, and whether he was chasing shadows rather than answers. The silence from Ebba wasn't helping, deepening his worries about the validity of his quest. Despite the lack of progress, Alex spent his days actively. He revisited locations linked to his childhood, talked to as many locales as he could, and explored areas that might hold a clue to his mother's past. He was everywhere, asking questions, taking notes, ever hopeful for that one breakthrough that would move his search forward. Over time, Alex became a familiar figure in the cafe, known for his regular waits and hopeful glances towards the door. Astrid and the other patrons recognized his routine. A quiet arrival, a spot at the back with a clear view of the entrance, and his attentive, almost expectant posture as he waited for anyone who might have answers. As more time passed without any new information, Alex's hope slowly dwindled. He wasn't ready to give up and leave Sweden empty-handed, but the continuous disappointments were hard to bear. Each silent day that passed made it harder to maintain his resolve, yet he refused to let go of the slim chance of discovering what really happened to his mother. One chilly evening, as Alex walked home, a prickling sensation of being watched crept over him. He glanced back and noticed a shadowy figure following at a distance. With every step, the figure mirrored his pace, blending into the dim streetlights. Alex's heart raced as he tried to discern who it could be, the silhouette maintaining a constant, eerie presence behind him. His instincts flaring, Alex quickened his pace and spun around to confront the figure, but it deftly stepped into the shadow of an alley. Frustrated and alert, he tried to catch a glimpse of the face, but the followers skillfully kept their distance and identity hidden. The chase continued through twisting streets, the follower always just out of clear sight. Nervous yet driven by curiosity, Alex decided to lead the follower into a more secluded area, hoping to force a confrontation where fewer eyes could witness. He turned into a dimly lit park, the night air tense around him. Every sound seemed amplified, and he prepared himself for what might come next as he stood waiting, his back to a cold stone wall. The tension peaked as the mysterious figure finally approached, cornering Alex against the park's old fountain. There was nowhere left to run, and as they stepped into the light, Alex braced himself. The figure stopped, and the dim light revealed their features, a moment of truth that Alex had not anticipated. To his utter astonishment, the person before him was none other than Elaine herself, his long-lost mother. Her appearance was unexpected, almost ghostly in the moonlight. She looked at Alex, her expression a complex tapestry of emotions as she prepared to reveal the story of her disappearance and survival, her voice trembling with the weight of years lost and found. In a quiet corner of the town, Elaine sat down with Alex, ready to unravel the mysteries of her past. She began her tale of survival, her voice wavering with the weight of each word. She described how she had gotten lost in the mountains, an outing that ended in a tragic twist of fate, leading to years lost in a haze of amnesia. Elaine explained that during their vacation, a hike had gone terribly wrong. She had strayed from the marked path, finding herself hopelessly lost as fog rolled in. Hours turned into days, and she wandered without a clear direction, survival becoming her only focus. That was the beginning of a long disappearance that left her detached from everything and everyone she loved. Struggling with amnesia, Elaine described her life post-disappearance. For years, she could not recall her own name or the faces of her family. She lived in a small village where no one knew her past, and she couldn't piece together her own story. Her past was a blank slate, and reconnecting with her identity was a daily battle against the void in her memories. Once fragments of her memory began to resurface, Elaine shared her desperate attempts to reach out to her family. Overwhelmed with emotions, she recounted her efforts to make contact, each attempt thwarted by her incomplete memories and the vast physical distance that had grown between them. These efforts were met with mixed reactions, complicating her return. The reunion was emotionally charged, filled with the joy of reconnection and the sorrow of the years lost. Elaine and Alex took time to process the pain caused by their unintended separation. They shared tears for the past and smiles for the moment, each memory recounted adding a piece to the jigsaw of their once shattered family life. With the revelations laid bare and emotions running high, Elaine made the decision to return home with Alex. Eager yet anxious, she anticipated reconnecting with the rest of the family, unsure of the reception she would receive. Together, they began planning their journey back, a trip that symbolized a bridge between her mysterious absence and her hopeful return. Together, they discussed how best to reintroduce Elaine to a family that had mourned her as lost forever. They strategized about the right approach, considering the shock and potential disbelief of her survival. It was a delicate plan, aimed at easing the emotional strain for everyone involved. As they planned their return, Elaine took the time to fill in the gaps of the 35 years she had been away. She talked about the people she met, the small joys and hardships, and how each experience had slowly brought back her memories. Alex listened, captivated by the stories of resilience and fortitude that defined his mother's lost years. They finally arrived back home, where Elaine's return was met with an overwhelming mixture of shock and joy. Tears flowed as family members who had resigned to her absence now celebrated her inexplicable presence. It was a reunion filled with emotional reunions, as each family member struggled to grasp the reality of her return. The story closed on a hopeful note, with the family slowly adjusting to the miraculous return of Elaine. Together, they began the process of healing, piecing together the past while forging a new future. As they gathered around Elaine, sharing stories and tears, the family embraced the chance to heal the wounds of the past and look forward to a reunited future.